Welcome back to another edition of NCS TV. We're your hosts, Tasha Lane
and Curtis Black. We've got an exciting show in store for you, so let's kick it off by sending it to Cody with his news.
Thanks, Curtis and Tasha. A woman who was born in 1887, Kamado Hongo, pictured here, who just turned 116 years old, has been recognized as the oldest living person by the Guinness Book of World Records. Hongo, who lives in Japan, is famous for her habit of sleeping for 2 days, then staying awake for 2 days. She has 7 children, 3 of whom she has outlived, 27 grandchildren, 57 great-grandchildren, and 11 great-great-grandchildren. She currently is bedridden and shares a hospital room with her 77-year-old daughter. Now in local news, former NCHS student Jimmy Williams was sentenced to just under 13 years for the murder of his stepfather. Mr. Williams, who pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, has 10 days from last Monday to appeal this ruling. Now, time for everyone's favorite part of the show, Odd News. This time we're going to look over the Stella Awards, the awards named after the lady who spilled hot coffee on herself at McDonald's and then sued McDonald's for $2.9 million. Okay, to start us off today, we have Kathleen Robertson of Austin, Texas, who was awarded $780,000 by a jury of her peers after she broke her ankle tripping over a toddler running in a furniture store. The owners were quite surprised at this verdict, considering the misbehaving child was Miss Robertson's own son. Second, we have 19-year-old Carl Truman, who was awarded $74,000 in medical expenses when his neighbor ran over his hand. Mr. Truman, however, did not notice there was someone at the wheel of the car when he was trying to steal the hubcaps. Well, that's all for this edition of news. Let's send it back to Curtis and Tasha.
Where in the world is Curtis? Oh yeah, he's in the studio working on a school improvement plan. Let's send it to him and check it out.
Hi, I'm Curtis Black, reporting here with Mr. Stoll, principal of NCHS. I'm going to ask him a few questions about the new school improvement plan, No Child Left Behind. Let's see, a little background information on No Child Left Behind is the reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965. George W. Bush signed for the No Child Left Behind. It's come into law on January 8, 2002, and it is designated to improve the education in our schools across the United States. Mr. Stoll, in this booklet they tell of a lot of jobs and tasks that, as a principal, you have to do. What are some added pressures you feel now in doing your job because of No Child Left Behind?
Well, we in the state of Kansas, we've always had school improvement for several years. We've had state assessments and those types of things with standards established for each curriculum. With No Child Left Behind, the added pressure at this point will be how state QPA process will blend with the No Child Left Behind. And as far as added pressure, I'm not sure that it's going to be any greater amount of pressure because we've always been concerned about student achievement. And year in, year out, our students have done pretty well. With No Child Left Behind, the consequences are listed. And I'm not sure that that's really an immediate thing because No Child Left Behind, there's a lot of steps in between the time that the severe consequences of lack of accreditation and those type of things come in. There's improvement plans and there's improvement provisions within the legislation. So consequently, I think the pressure itself will be on making improvement.
And you say 2014 is a projected time to when they want all of this met. Really, that it's kind of a short amount of time, and do you think or believe that maybe they're asking just a little too much, or anything you'd like to change that you don't agree with?
Well, I think you have to set goals, and the goal would be, and I think as any educator believe, that all students can learn. The problem that I see with the No Child Left Behind provision or legislation is that it's real difficult in expecting that all students will meet mastery at the same time. Sometimes it takes longer to learn for some students than it does others. And I think the expectation of meeting mastery or meeting the achievement level with all students in all subgroups, it will be a difficult task. I think expecting special ed kids with individual educational IEP plans to have to meet the same expectations as regular ed kids is also a concern. I'm very concerned about the amount of pressure that's put on students as well as schools with a one test like the state assessment.
You mentioned somewhat about the testing. They might bring in science later down the road, and they're doing math and state assessments. Can you go into a little more detail about that?
Well, they have divided up the different levels of how students can be assessed or measured. Accountability is going to be a big provision of No Child Left Behind. The accountability measure means a follow-up as to we know those students are actually learning. And so the only way they can do that, of course, is to determine some kind of measure of a test or an assessment. The state assessment requirement is that all students between, I think it's 3rd grade and 8th grade, will be tested every year in math and reading, and then later some of the other content areas will be added. In the high school, you have to have a test between the 10th and 12th grade in those content areas. Right now, the big focus by No Child Left Behind is in the math and reading areas.
Well, thank you, Mr. Stoll. I'm Curtis Black reporting, and now back to the studio. And now on to Joel for an update on our fellow NCHS athletes.
Here at NCHS, cross-country team's off to a pretty good start, and I was just looking for a couple of people to interview, and I just can't seem to find any. Hey, you two guys, come over here. I need you for a second. Oh, us? Yeah, you too. Pop squat right here.
I need some water, man.
Well, I'm here with James Annan, senior on the Norton cross country team, and Derek Vogelmer, junior. Derek, how has cross country gone so far this year?
Well, Joel, cross country's gone pretty good. Norton Invitational, we got 2nd as a team, and Wamego, we got 11th out of 9. We had some individuals place in Norton and an individual place at Wamego, so that's pretty good.
Personally, how do you think you've done so far this year?
At Norton, I ran pretty good and got 7th. In Wamego, I ran bad.
Sit there. Thanks, Derek.
You're welcome, Joel.
Now I'm going to ask James Annan a few questions. He's been out for cross country. This will be his 3rd year now. And James, how's this year cross country compared to the past 2?
Well, this year we've been running a lot harder than we have been, and our team might be a little better this year than we have been in the past couple years. So we've been running a little bit more. And
Okay. So practice has been pretty tough on you.
yeah,
Well, how have you done so far at the first 2 meets of the year?
well, the first meet at Norton, I did better than I had been in the past couple years, and I got 10th. And at Wamego, I got 60-something, but I've been doing okay.
Thanks a lot. That's good for now. You guys better keep on trucking and just keep practicing, so go get them, guys.
Okay,
Thanks. Thanks for the interview.
Thanks. Let's go.
Now, wasn't that a great show?
Yes, it was. But it's too bad it's over. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the 4th edition of NCS TV.